Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. So, I'm on episode 22 of Seraph of the End. We have 3 episodes of this season left. And I had to bring out my Blu-ray and pop open. And I've not really I haven't looked at the back of the Blu-ray. I've only opened it up and gotten the disc out because I didn't want to be spoiled by any imagery. So I've like not done anything to it. But when I opened up to the last disc on, because you know you have disc 1. Disc 1 has Mika. It's great. Disc 2 has a Farid on it, and disc 3 has Guren and Crowley. So I was like, okay. And then you get to the last disc, and the image on the disc is the one that's in the back here of Mika and Yu. Okay. I was like, ooh, I like that image. I was like, huh. So I decided, I was like, okay, we're on episode 22. 3-episode warning. It's not the penultimate episode yet, but it's the one right before it. Mika has been bleeding on the floor, is possibly dying if he doesn't drink blood. Yu could be dead. We don't know. I feel like Ajiramaru said that he was going to heal his heart, so he should be okay. And meanwhile, I'm not so much worried about Shinoa and the Mitsuba squad getting reprimanded at the moment because there's no time. Because the vampires are descending and killing everybody. Kageyama's dead. The one girl, Indo's dead. Narumi was left being like, what the heck? And Shinya's there like, what the heck? And so all the vampires are descending upon them, including Cruel and Farid. And so Shinoa and them, they're going to have to get reprimanded later. That's not what's important right now. No. So I had a little bit of wine left, like just this much left. And I was like, you know what? It's about vampires. Vampires, blood, wine. Why not? We'll see what happens. Might be worthy, might be needed. But yeah, the series, it's been such a slow burn. And then when it picks up the pace, it really picks up the pace. So I am excited to start the manga and pick up where this left off with the manga once we're done with this. I am excited for that. That's going to be a lot of fun to actually pick up and see where it left off at. But yeah, we'll get to that. So, I'm really excited, y'all. I can't wait. I decided, I'm watching this a little bit early. Episode 20 just aired on Patreon and episode 19 on YouTube, but I just couldn't wait anymore. I was like, I need to watch episode 22 and just see what happens. And after seeing that cover, after seeing our boys like that, yeah, that was gonna happen. So hopefully everything's all right and it'll all be good. But yeah, I pulled it up here, and so we're gonna start episode 22 and just see what shakes down. Are we gonna focus on? I feel like we're gonna focus on Yu and Mika because that would be the obvious thing to do because they just ran off, and then cut back and forth to the battle. Maybe I'm curious to know what Yu is gonna do once he wakes up. If he wakes up. Like, is he going to be in instant demon mode again? Is he going to be like, I need to go find Minakama? How is Mika going to handle that? Because Mika didn't handle it well last time. Is he going to learn step 2, to try it over? Is he going to learn the second time around? We'll see. But let's not waste any more time. We're going to start episode 22 of Seraph of the End. And we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. So finally, Mika became a vampire. All right. It was only a matter of time, right? And if he's going to drink anybody's blood, it's going to be Yu's. It's going to be funny if Yu's the only person he'll let drink his blood now. If it's just he's like, I can only drink your blood, Mika, or your blood, Yu. Oh my gosh. Oh, so them showing up at the airport and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's no helicopters to take them to safety. Oh buddy. So that's curious. I'm wondering if Kureto, I'm very curious. I'm wondering if Kureto is the traitor now. I know, I'm going back and forth like who's the traitor and all this. I wonder if it is Kureto, only because, or someone Kureto's with, only because Guren had received the orders. It's gotta be, Shinya was like, Shinya is suspicious. But I'm like, is Shinya the traitor? Is Guren the traitor? But here's the thing. Guren led them all. Now I want to go back and watch and see like who told them to go to the airport. Guren had told them to meet up at the airport. But Guren, I assume, had received his orders from Kureto that they'd be back up there to pick them up at the airport. So either Guren is being used and is not the traitor. And Kureto was just, the reason I say Kureto is I think he's luring them all there. He's luring all of the Demon Corps people there that are the pawns, and he's going to lure them all there as bait at the airport in this big open area. All the vampires will swarm where the Imperial Demon Army members are. There'll be a battle, and then Kureto will show up and just wipe everybody out. And that will be the end of it, right? So he's using the army, he's using Shinya and them as bait to lure them to the airport, to the rendezvous point out there in the open, and then just bring in Kimazuki's sister to go in and wipe everybody out. Here's the thing. I feel like Kimazuki, after all of this, might be on board with joining Yu and Mika in leaving. I can totally see at this point Yu and Mika just piecing out from everybody and being like, we're going to go rogue, bye. And I can see Kimazuki joining them, especially if his sister is being experimented on and he finds that out, right? And Shinoa hates the Hiragi, so she'll probably be like, yeah, I'm going too. Yoichi's going to go no matter what. Mitsuma might be like, I don't know. But Kageyama and Endo are dead, so I just don't know. And poor Mika, just Mika carrying you to that I really liked I love the aesthetic of the broken down gas station grocery store. The broken down grocery store is where he ends up going. And it's such a big parallel there. I was waiting for him to have a flashback of seeing the little kids and thinking of his family, of him and Yu as kids. And that didn't happen in this. I was waiting for it, but it seems like maybe that was too on the nose. But you could just tell like these little kids hunkered down in this grocery store that was abandoned kind of represented like the family that Yu and Mika were in the orphanage. And so when Mika's about to drink the little kid's blood and he's like, monster, he's like, you know, Mika is so self-loathing. He hates himself. He hates what he's become. And he's been trying all this time. And I love that he says that. He's like, I've been trying for years not to drink any human blood because I didn't want to become this monster. And you're just egging it on, Yu. And Yu's like, if it's to save you. And it's like, that was so crushing though. Because when he reached in for the pouch, I was like, oh, he's going to get he's going to reach in and get the blood out, Krill's blood. But he goes to the pouch and everything's just broken. And it's just all seeped out. Which, I'm glad that realistically, in battle, that stuff would all get tore up. So I'm glad that realistically it kept to that. I mean, for the sake of the plot, it's very consistent. And I love it. He's just like, and he tries to crumple it up and drink the blood. And it doesn't work. There's nothing there. And he's like, Yu, I have to tell you about this experimentation. And I'm glad he finally gets to talk to you. Yu doesn't care though. Yu's like, whatever, experimentation. Yu, it's funny because Mika is self-loathing and Yu is self-sacrificing. So it's like the worst combo, but Mika just doesn't want to really become a monster. Because it's like, yeah, he's either going to have to drink a human's blood or he's going to become like a monster, like a Four Horsemen of John. Like just basically like a demon, the vampire version of it. And so, and Yu just rips it open and is like, just drink it all up. It's weird seeing Mika with red eyes now because I did like his blue eyes, but the red and the green contrast, I mean, it works really well. And so, yeah, the kids like all are going to go help him and then they all run away instead. And again, that's such a mirror, right? It's such a mirror, a reverse, because in the past, all the orphanage kids all came together and all died together. And this, all the other kids ran away. And then the one kid was left behind. Kind of like Mika. And he's like, I just need to drink blood to live. But I feel like it's going to be significant that the blood he drank was Yu's blood, who's a Seraph. I feel like that's going to have some sort of impact. We haven't seen Mika's ears, if he has pointy ears. We haven't seen if his ears turned pointy or not. We just saw the eyes. I loved, though, when the red of the eyes, like, slowly changed and eventually it, like, went from blue to, like, purple and then back to red. That was really cool. And then, like, just the abandoned shopping mall and then him dragging Yu in there. And just the piano OP. Are you joking? Like, the soundtrack in this episode was amazing. I loved it. It just, the soundtrack, the music, everything. It was great. So we get inside of Yu's head to Azurimaru, and I liked the world building of Azurimaru saying, I can only see what your eyes see. Like, I can't see into the future. I can't see what anybody else is thinking. It's just me and you. So if you missed out on it, she's like, I don't know. I know Ujiramaru was supposed to be male, but I'm like, it's a demon. It's like, I keep feeling like Ujiramaru was female, but it's not. But yeah. And Yu's like, oh, I'm unconscious. What's been happening? And I love this. You are very direct with love and desire. Like, you care for your family. You're all about protecting them. You have no sense of right or wrong when it comes to protecting them. You're completely damaged goods. Being like, it's going to be hard to manipulate you because you're so dead set on protecting your friends and family. Like, come on. And then I like that Ujiramaru's barefoot. Like, this mangaka can draw feet very well. Yeah, you've been asleep for a long time. So yeah, I like that we get the time passage because all the snow has fell on the ground. Like, that's really cool. When we go back to the airport hangar, I'm trying to get like a sense of time in this episode. So when Yu and Mika come out of the grocery store, there's been a lot of snow settle on the ground and it had started snowing. So a couple hours have passed. So I'm going to be curious to see when we cut to the airport hangar if it's the same thing, what ends up happening there. But of course, Yu wants to know where Gurren is. And Ujiramaru's like, you're always obsessing over someone. He's like, just tell me where Gurren is. And Shinoa and the guys, and they're like, I don't know. But I see that there's someone else here with you. Like, it's curious. Ujiramaru senses that Mika is there. There's a different family member here for you today. Like, looking around like, oh, there they are. But you didn't see them, so... And I love the visual of you turning away from the sword, away from the demon army, and that's where he sees Mika. But yeah, you waking up and sensing that Mika's there. And Mika's just hunched against the corner, trying not to turn into a giant Four Horsemen of John. And I like that Yu doesn't immediately know that it's Mika. He's about to attack him, knowing it's a vampire cloak, but then gets closer and senses that it's Mika. And like all the blood is just draining from him. And Mika's just trying to hold it together. Yeah. And I like that Yu, when Mika jumps on top of him, Yu's just like ready to go. He's like, fine, just drink my blood if that's going to help you. Because yeah, Mika is like at the end of his rope. Like, just cannot take it. And he like slaps the sword out of his hand. And yeah, he's like, I need to drink blood to survive. Yeah. And then he's in pain. And of course, because Yu is so compassionate and kind, he's like, I don't want you to be in pain anymore. You're my family. Here, drink my blood. And then he won't, like, he just instantly gets soft and he lets him go. And just accepts it. And says he's sorry. And that's when Mika's like, ugh! It's because I left you by yourself that you became this way. So yeah, Mika's accepted. He's like, you're a vampire because of me. Like, I left you, so that's why you're like this. And Mika just, he can't take it. I felt so bad for Mika in this. And I felt so bad for you. He's like, I wasn't myself. And then, yeah, they ask how much you suffer for him. And yeah, I love it. I love that Yu's just like, no, it's fine. It's because I left you behind. And they do have a lot of communication in this episode. They do talk things out a lot. I'm glad they got to the point where they were going to talk about what Mika was trying to tell him. Because when he kept cutting Mika off, I'm like, let the man finish. Let the vampire tell you about this human experimentation. Let him tell you about everything. And I love that you have Yu with the open hands and the white gloves. And then you have Mika with the blood on his hands, like going back. It's such a great visual. He's like, will you recover if you drink blood? And he's like, yeah. I love that he like leans in to look at him. And he even cuts his hand, but then he goes for the neck. It's like, I'm glad they didn't show us cutting his hand because I'm like, Like, what? It's love, damn it. It's love, damn it. I do like in vampire stories, there's a lot of subtext for romance. And it's, the whole drinking of the blood thing is very much like almost like a sexual romantic gesture in a lot of vampire stories. And so you basically tempting Mika to the point where he drinks his blood. It's like, come on, we know. This is such a BL. It's a vampire BL and it's not even trying to hide it. But it does such a good job of building up to him. He's like, once I drink blood, human blood, I can't go back. So him telling you that he's not drank human blood yet, he's not become a complete vampire that will never age. But he's a eternal teenager now. He's like, can you do a tiny favor for me? It's like he just stringing him along. He's like, won't you do this tiny favor? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm going to make you do it. Like, they're such a couple. Like, are you kidding me? This scene's so great. I love this between them. Just them in the grocery store. He's like, I've been fighting it for so long, trying not to become a hideous monster until I saw you. And then you just I kept fighting it. You say it so easily. He's like, you tip me so easily. He's like, I fought for years so you won't see me like this. And Yu's like, I'm not happy you're becoming a vampire, but it's my fault. And I don't want you to die. There's no other choice. He's like, I can't. He's like, I love that he says, I'll cry if you die. And it's like, he's like, so what? I love it. He's like, even if you become a vampire, lick the dust and survive. Are you telling me to become a vampire just for you? And he's like, yes. You got a problem with it? Oh, I love this conversation. I love their dialogue. It's so good. It's just so perfect. And then, yeah, them back and forth at each other. And he's like, fine. I'm glad they didn't show us him cutting his arm because that stuff was like, ugh, I don't see it. He's like, and then I like this. If you're going to die, you should have died quietly and secretly. He's like, if you're going to make a big fuss about this, you should have just gone off and died alone. And then he's like, but I need to tell you. And he's like, nope, can't hear you. Nope. If you want me to listen, then drink my blood. He's like, that's the only option you get. And then Mika's like, fine. But Mika's not going to just suck the blood off your arm. No, he's going for the jugular. He's going for the throat. He's going to kiss your neck, bud. That's how this is going. We ain't doing no arm sucking in this. I'm not letting you die. And he's like, ugh. Mika's like, oh my God. I do like how they did the animation of his eyes changing color. I wonder in the manga when I get to it if that's gonna be like a color spread or the color chapter and showing his eyes changing. That would be really cool if that's what they did. Because I'm like, the manga is usually black and white. How would they depict that? So that's gonna be curious to see how they do it. I'm gonna read. I've not gotten to this part in the manga yet, so it's gonna be interesting seeing how that looks when we get to it. And he's like, that was my mistake. I'm going to become a monster because of you. Yeah. And he's like, we're still family no matter what you become. I love it. He's like, I don't care if you're a vampire or not. We're still family. So, this whole buildup is great. And he's like, it's very painful. I want to drink blood. But, and he offers the arm, and Mika's like, I ain't going for that. He's like, nope. And then goes for that instead. And Yu doesn't fight back. He's just like, yeah, and he goes to hug him instead. And he just cradles him in his arms. It's like the blood sprays. Oh my gosh. Yep. Welcome back, Mika. Oh, I want to take a screenshot of that. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for that moment where he smiles holding him. There's so many good shots in this episode. Mainly of Mika and Yu, but I mean, the episode is... As soon as I read the title, I was like, oh, that's what we're doing. Okay, show. I see how it is. Oh my God. Makes sense why the Blu-ray thing is like, He didn't drink that much, luckily. He just drank enough to survive. And then we see him like all hunched over, like shivering. And then when he looks back and he's crying. That expression, it's kind of creepy. But when he looks back and smiles at him, like, with the tears, he's like, Mika. And then I love all the blood vessels and stuff, like, all coagulating together. And then he becomes a vampire. And that's really, the eyes are about the only thing that changed, though. Unless we see the pointy ears. We haven't seen his ears yet. But that's been about it. I wanted to get that shot of him as a vampire. Yep. And him crying. Oh, that's such a good transition. I love it. So then, yeah, we cut back to them talking about it and saying, this is weird. It isn't normal to stay alive by drinking your family's blood. Oh, and he says, who cares? It's not like we want to be normal. He's like, we're both weird. He's like, I'm 10% angel. You're a vampire now. It's fine. It's all good. But that's funny. He says it's not normal to drink to drink family's blood because he's been drinking Cruel's blood this whole time. So it's a nice little nod that Cruel is not family to Mika. She was just a means of survival, even though she turned him. And he's like, I'm not normal anymore. I've completely become a vampire. And I like that Yu's like, and Yu goes back to what Gurren said. And he's like, Gurren? Who's Gurren? And he says you don't know him. But the moment he said that, that made me get suspicious of Gurren because I kept feeling like Mika was going to say, oh, I know who that is. I feel like he was going to say something, and then he doesn't. So he doesn't know who Gurren is by name, but if he sees Gurren again, he's like, oh, that's Gurren. Uh-huh. But he knows what Gurren looks like. See, here's the thing, too. If Gurren was the traitor, but Gurren's only been dealing with Farid, so I guess that's fair. But it's funny that if Mika knew that the one Yu is talking about is the one that he, like, stabbed earlier, then it's like, But even if the only reason to live is revenge, keep on living. And I think Yu's just casually talking to him like, hey, it's fine. You're a vampire now. We're still besties. And we cut to these kids that are staying alive to help each other. And they have like the little heater in the grocery store hanging up their clothes, like eating the food. It makes sense the kids are in a convenience store. I mean, some of that stuff would probably be stale, but it's still edible, you know? I mean, even the bottled water and stuff you could probably get by with. And he's like, here I am to see you again. Able to see you again. And Mika's like, oh. He's like, let's survive together even if we struggle. And it's like, Yu is so wonderful because he doesn't care that Mika's a vampire now. I mean, he blames himself partially for Mika becoming a vampire, but it's like him and Mika like being able to be together. And Mika's like, I don't deserve you, Yu. It's like, He's like, who cares if you're a vampire? Oh. And he's like, if that's hard for you, I'll find a way for you to turn back into a human. I like that Yu is like, we'll figure this out. Oh, I love it. He's like, don't give up and try to die ever again. Oh, my heart, it's love, damn it. I love it so much. These two just supporting each other. And then Mika's like, I came to save you, not the other way around. So I'm curious, of course, you've become stronger than before. And Yu's like, I've always been strong. So he's like, no, you were a crybaby before. And then he's like, no, you're the crybaby. And he's like, oh, well, as he's crying, he's like, meh. Oh God, I love it. Stop. The fact that he smiles like that. Oh my God, stop, show. Quit giving me all the reasons to take all the screen caps. It's just Mika's so happy now, even though he's a vampire. It's like, ugh. And his teeth are very noticeably sharp now. Just for today, I'm a crybaby. And he's like, this Gurren guy is just trying to use you. And he knows. He's like, since he's family, it's fine. I'm like, you're so trusting. He's like, I was already dead when my parents abandoned me. So he's like, Gurren and Yu kept me alive. So it's funny that Yu is likening the reason he's alive to both Gurren and Mika, who are two opposing forces. It's interesting. Oh, you sweetheart. I don't mind if you guys want to use me. That's the thing. It's like, Mika is self-loathing and Yu doesn't care to be self-destructive if it's for the sake of his family. I like that Mika's like, I'm not like those humans. I would never use you. And this gesture, I'm sorry. But when he's like, but you drank my blood. It's like, oh, honey. Oh, Yu, sweet Yu. And then it's that gesture is just, I want to try to get one without the, and Mika's like, well, that's something else. He's like, I don't care about the blood. Help me out in return. Yeah. So I like that in the end, Mika is very unwilling to help at first, but he finally does decide. He's like, okay, Shinoa and those four that backed me up, they're okay. He's like, I'll help you with them. But it takes until they finally get in the car for them to have this conversation. they kept going back and forth about what to do. And I was like, can you boys just sit down and talk about this experimentation? But they don't really reveal anything we didn't already know, other than the Seraph of the End is tied to this human experimentation and that both of them were experimented on. We now know Kimazuki and his sister probably were too. So nothing was really revealed as far as the Seraph of the End. It was just giving it a name and confirming that it's all connected. That was pretty much the only thing we got revealed in. But it's like, ugh. And I like that Mika tells him, he's like, that he thinks that Yu's under mind control. And Yu's just like, silly Mika. He's like, bye, I'm not here to listen to this. He's like, no. I thought for a second when we saw the stairs that they were going to throw each other down the stairs. I kept thinking the way that they had this set up, they were going to do that. But, and I like that he puts the sword, Mika does, to Yu's throat. And he's like, oh, you're pointing that sword at me? And he's like, yeah, I'll do anything to protect you. And he's like, then you should help me. And he's like, I should. He's like, yeah. And I love that he just turns the blade. And he's like, yeah, you weren't really going to hurt me. He's like, if you won't then kill me, I'd rather die than fail to save my family. He said, you told me to survive even if I became a vampire. And he's like, then help me if you want to keep surviving. I was like, Mika, I love that they just bicker back and forth with this. I'm glad they finally got along, though. I am glad for that. And then Mika does accept that, okay, fine. I'm glad that Mika accepts that you can have family other than him. Because that's been my biggest fear, is that Mika wouldn't accept Shinoa and the others. And then in the last episode, when they saved Mika and let him go away with you, it was a nice way of Mika being like, fine, I don't like you, but fine. And so I'm glad that he doesn't keep after, and Yu's persistent. Yu's like, no, I want you to stay alive, but you're not the only one I care about. I do like that. I do like that Yu's not like, let's run away together. He's like, no, Mika, there's more than one person I care about, and it's fine. And he's like, oh, you do know who they are. Yeah. So I'm glad that he convinces Mika to help them. I love it. I love the gestures of just them looking the other way and you following him around, just trying to get him to talk to him and look him in the eye. And he gets so excited and happy when he finds out that, he says, they're the good guys, right? We gotta save them, right? And Mika's like, you know, it's interesting. He's like, I'm only going to save those 4. And then he's like, yeah. He's like, yay. Oh, it's so cute. I want to picture that too. Oh, y'all, when I get to this chapter in the manga, it's over. It's over. It's so good. So I like that they're walking, they're like, where are they? And it almost looks like, I want to go back and see that, right? He grabs him by the hand. They are holding hands. Show, it's love, damn it. How dare you try to fool me? They said something about an airport. So they get to said airport. They get to said airport. And it shows some snow on the ground, so it's not totally covered in snow yet, but there's no helicopters. There's nothing there. It's like there should be choppers for us to escape in. There isn't a single car out here. There's nothing. It's an empty lot. Yeah. So what's the deal? They were all lured there. That's why I'm like, they didn't give us Shinya with a look or anything at the camera. Like, they didn't give us any of that. They just showed him standing there. He was in the shot, but that makes me think that maybe it's not Shinya. That makes me think that it could be, well, here's the thing. The traitor, whether it's Shinya or Gurren or whoever, the traitor may not have had the whole airport scenario in mind. The traitor could still act in other ways throughout the series, but I think, regardless of who the traitor is, I think Kureto lured them all to the airport to use themselves as bait to get all the vampires to come after them in one location. And then once all the vampires are attacking Shinya and the others, then Kureto will swoop in and ambush all of them and use Kimazuki's sister. That's what I think is going to happen. But that doesn't answer the question of who the traitor is. At this point, I should just put it on the back burner because I feel like they're either going to tell us in the next 2 episodes or it's going to be something we find out in the manga. But yeah, I like that no matter what Yu does, he can't drive the car. He's not allowed to drive the car. It's Mika's like, I can do it. And Yu's like, yeah, it's great. But I love that. And Mika's pretty good at driving the stick shift. He's pretty adequate at it. He's had time. And so, yeah, they go through the whole Seraph of the End thing, and that there's been human experimentation, and it was causing Yu to be targeted by human organizations and vampires from around the world. So this is a pretty big scale operation. It's not just the demon army and not just Farid. It's big. The failure of this experiment caused the adults to die and nearly ended the world. So whatever happened to Yu back in the day is what was the catalyst for all of this. So that's interesting. That is interesting. And he's like, it's our fault, not just yours. We were just being used. It's like all the orphans. Humans are to blame. So that's going to be interesting to see when the vampires came out of hiding and what the deal was, what's been going on. And so he tells you that the Japanese Imperial Demon Army has taken over the experimentation. It's the experimentation of Seraph of the End. Mm-hmm. He's like, humans are ugly. They're driven by greed and can't properly control power. It's interesting because now Mika's a vampire. So when he talks like this, before when he was saying it, it's like, well, you're a human too, Mika, but he's not right now. He's like, I can't leave you in the hands of people like them. But Yu's like, I'm also human. He's like, I can't go with you. I'm not a vampire. He's like, and I want to turn you back into a human too. However that could work. However that's possible. If it's even possible, we don't know. And Mika's like, I don't know about that. So yeah, it's our dudes. So yeah, so then they're going on, and then we get Kureto with the sister that we now has confirmed that's Kimizuki's sister. She has but her curse mark isn't, it's the curse mark, but it's not pink like Yu's was. It's purplish. So I feel like they're going to show up with her to destroy the vampires. They're going to show up with her and make her into like an angel, like what you tried to be. Kimizuki's going to freak out because that's his sister. She was supposed to be in good hands, and So I don't know. I could totally see by the end of this, I could totally see Yu and Mika and Shinoa in the midst of a squad, like going rogue from everybody and piecing out. I could totally see that. I could see I could see Kureto and his men dying, and maybe Shinya and all of them are left, and they have to figure out what to do with the Imperial Demon Army against the vampires. I don't know what's going to happen in these next 2 episodes, to be honest. I'm very curious to know when Mika and Yu show up. Here's the thing. Shinoa and them are going to realize Mika's become a vampire because his eyes are drastically different. So I'm curious about that, how they're going to react to knowing Mika drank Yu's blood and Yu being like, it's fine, I told him to, because he did tell him to. And then I'm curious what Farid is going to say when he realizes that Mika's become a vampire. What Farid and Cruel are going to say when they realize he's become a vampire. That's going to be the thing. Like, how are they going to react to all this? The drama, the tea spilling. But I love this episode. I love Mika and Yu's dynamic, and the fact that Mika thinks he's a monster and that Yu won't love him, and Yu's like, I love you unconditionally. Drink my blood, you moron. And it's like they're in love, and it's so great. It's so good. This may be, it might be one of my favorite episodes of the season. I really like this episode a lot. And so it's hard, but I love Mika and Yu's dynamic. They're like clearly in love, but they banter and spat at each other, and it's wonderful. I don't know what's going to happen in these next 2 episodes. So yeah, next is the penultimate episode for the anime. And after that is going to be episode 24. And then we've got the rest of Seraph of the Endless. We've got the rest of that. And then I'll be starting the manga reactions to lead up to where we are now with the series, reading volume by volume. So it's great. We're not done with Seraph of the End yet. I'm excited by that because I want to keep reading and see what happens. So we shall see though, right? So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of this episode. This was wonderful, but what else can we say? Mika's a vampire now. They're on their way to the airport. They're going to try to see what's going on with you and all them. We still don't know who the traitor is. Farid and all them are showing up. It's all going to go down the next 2 episodes, and I'm pretty excited. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with episode, I can't believe it, 23 of Seraph of the End. Bye.